Whatever you decide, you get. And no matter what method you use as an excuse to make that decision, the decision still sticks. As an example, individuals will often assume, in order to transform to the individual that I prefer to be, I must understand who I am already being. And often they will create an elaborate process, an elaborate painstaking exploration of why, oh why, am I who I am? The interesting thing is that as they are partaking in and creating this process, they continually re-establish the decision. This is who I am. As you dig into your past to determine why you turned out in such an undesirable way, should that be your approach, you continually reassert that version of who you are. You continually maintain the decision that I am this person that needs so much work. There can be value when you insist on moving on a gradient to all of this type of exploration. However, if transforming instantaneously appeals to you, maybe it doesn't, but if it does, you need not carry around the baggage. All that you need do to transform right now is simply, as you say in your vernacular, take the bull by the horns and simply have your decisions about who you are be conscious and purposeful. Perhaps you may wish to include the idea of factoring in your preference. This is who I desire to be. Now, when you state, this is who I desire to be, there is sometimes the tendency to digress by thinking, well, this is who I am being, even though I desire to be this person. But that is not the same thing as simply deciding, this is who I am, because this is what I prefer, this is how I see myself, this is the person I love, and your willingness to simply cut through the red tape, as you say, and decide, according to preference, who you are, allows you to take the process that you already use to create your own reality and shift it, as you say, on a dime, or any denomination you choose. Therefore, be mindful, should you choose the idea of beginning to express joy and ecstasy in your life, not so much who you are being, that is not the person you desire to be, but who you do desire to be, who you prefer to be, who you already are, and therefore, once you decide, any person that you may have been in any other given moment becomes irrelevant to that decision. You become the person you decide in each and every given moment. To illustrate the extent of this idea, if you decide, well, Elan, what you're saying right now is nonsense, you get that. If you decide, that makes sense, I'll give it a try, then you get the partial result of someone who is trying. If you decide, I already do that, I will begin to do it consciously right now, you are no longer any other person that you have ever defined yourself to be. You are now being the preferred you. If you will begin to simply trust that decision, then your actions, perhaps subtly at first, but eventually quite blatantly, will begin to reflect the decision, and the actions will have results. And even when you decide to be, the external circumstance will seem to change. Now understand, in no uncertain terms, because of the cause and effect methodology that you create in your reality, through your actions, you perform an action which is considered to be a cause, and then you get an effect. You have a tendency to judge yourself against the background of your circumstances, of your situation. If you will begin to understand that all those results, all those circumstances, truly have no built-in meaning, that they are a neutral set of props, no matter how they may appear on the surface, you then give yourself power to interpret that circumstance, those situations through the new you that you have now decided to be. Now, if that you happens to be an empowered being, you will say, well, how does this situation serve me exactly as it is? And then get the result of receiving a service from a circumstance, of receiving service from a situation that you have formally labeled negative, or formally labeled as evidence that seems to support the notion that, well, I guess I haven't changed at all. Understand, by the way, that when you say, I guess I haven't changed at all, what are you doing? You're making a new decision in that moment. And though you did change completely and 100% when you made this decision, I haven't changed at all, is very similar, perhaps you can say, to previous negative decisions that you have made, and therefore can seem, it is only an apparency, but a very strong one, seem to cancel out the positive change. It does not truly cancel the change, for you are still a new being, with that much more knowledge. But the idea is, only do you seem to backslide, as you sometimes say, when you are not willing to remind yourself, remember yourself, to maintain the decision of who you prefer to be. And any circumstance that would seem to be negative and seem to be evidence that you are not the new person that you desire to be is, on the flip side of the coin, an opportunity to reestablish and realign to who you prefer to be by reminding yourself